Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Chris Thorne with HireMilitary here with you again to share another great opportunity on an amazing employer that's making DoD skill bridge opportunity, and not just skill bridge opportunity, but remote skill bridge opportunities. And we know, in the time that we're having right now, how important that is. So I'm really, really happy to be joined today by Mindy Morley, Vice President of Workforce Insight. Really so happy to have you here with us today to talk about Workforce Insight and what you're all about and the opportunities that you have. And, we also have with us Kyle Kaiser, who is an active duty Navy member participating right now in a DoD Skill Bridge program with Workforce Insight. So we get to hear firsthand from him about the program, about his process, about how he made his choices. And so just really excited to have this opportunity. Thank you both for being here today. And so, with that said, Mindy, why don't I go ahead and start off with you? I would really love to get a little bit from you about your background and how you came to find yourself at Workforce Insight, and sort of to tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you for having us today. We really appreciate that. I've been in the workforce management industry for over 20 years. I started with Kronos back in 2000, and I worked there for about 11 or 12 years. In 2012, I came on over to Workforce Insight, and I've been here ever since. I'll be celebrating 8 years with Workforce Insight this June. My primary focus over the past 20 years has been in the learning and development arena, with a focus really on Kronos applications.
That's awesome. So you really have an extensive background in the workforce management, workforce development, and sort of human resources range that you bring that skill and experience to bear, so that service members participating in this get one heck of a deep insight into the organization then. So
yes, we do try for that, definitely.
Absolutely. So, Kyle, it's a pleasure to have you here as well. And I always kind of enjoy when we're able to get some of our service members who are participating in the conversation, because nothing translates to other people like somebody who's actually sort of walked the path they're trying to go. So, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background, your Navy background, and then how you found your way to where you are now.
Hi, thanks, Chris. So I came in undesignated, did the whole undez thing for about 2 years. I picked up rate as an AZ, and then I've been in the Navy. I'll be at 7 years now. So I've been at AZ for over 5. Decided to make the transition to civilian first class and move on. And so I was actively searching for skill bridge programs, and I came across the LinkedIn post from Sarah Thompson, and that was back in, I think, October or November, and it just kind of piqued my interest. I was looking for something a little bit technology based, and it was remote. So I mean, that's something unheard of in the military side. So I reached out to Sarah, and ever since then it was great. Sarah was super helpful, and I mean, it was almost no hiccups and a super smooth process to begin the internship with Workforce Insight.
Awesome. And I love that background. Actually, I love the civilian first class role there. I'm going to have to remember that one for future use. But you brought up something that I think is really key, is that right now we're having a conversation based on social distancing rules across the Department of Defense with COVID-19 response, and how important these remote internship opportunities are right now. But really, one of the things I love about this conversation is this didn't just start within the last 2 months. This really has been the model for success with Workforce Insight, really going back all the way to the start of the program here. So, I think it's probably a good opportunity to transition at this point. Mindy, you mentioned your background with Kronos and some of those as we were talking. But, there's a lot of people who might be watching the stream right now, and they may just not really be familiar with what that means. What are those workforce solutions, Kronos and otherwise? What is Workforce Insight really all about, and what's sort of the objectives and outcomes of participating in a training program with Workforce Insight?
Yeah, sure. So Workforce Insight helps our clients evaluate, implement, and adopt workforce strategies and technology. So we are with our clients from the beginning to the end. Sometimes we help them also choose software that's the best fit for their organization. We assist them throughout the implementation, all the way through when their company has adopted the software. And that focus really sets us apart. We really focus on their people and their organization and making them successful. And that's really a core value with Workforce Insight internally as well. That helps us become a trusted advisor with our clients, and they continue to come back to Workforce Insight years down the road. We really create what we refer to as a sticky relationship with them, so that they trust us and can come back to us when they need some additional help with their applications, their systems, whether it's an upgrade or implementing new modules, things like that. We really focus on providing or exceeding our clients' expectations. We're very people-centered, both our approach to working with clients and our approach as an organization with our internal employees. We're very collaborative. Kyle could probably attest to that. We're pretty people-centered, and we're pretty proud of that.
Very awesome. I love that. And, I love the people focused side of it, but I also love those persistent relationships. You're not a company that's focused on a transactional touch once and go away type thing. You really have that persistent relationship building process, which is so important for creating networks and building those opportunities to go forward in the future. So, let's talk a little bit now about DoD SkillBridge and how Workforce Insight is able to leverage that to create opportunities for service members and hopefully create some success. So, DoD SkillBridge is a path to a training program that Workforce Insight already had in place. You didn't create this training program for the DoD SkillBridge program, but you did create a path for service members to participate in the training through DoD SkillBridge. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that is correct.
So what does that internship, that training pathway, then what does that look like? Sort of, if I'm completely unfamiliar with it, I'm Kyle, flashback 6 months ago when he first started talking to Sarah the Awesome, and he's not really sure. So, what does that path look like as far as getting accepted to it, starting and participating in that internship training process?
Sure, we have a pretty robust, thorough, maybe I should say, screening process. So we start out with accepting applications that Sarah, I believe, also screens. And then we have myself and our executive vice president also perform the screening. When we accept a candidate into the academy, it's about a 12-week program, a little bit of buffer in there, but there's just about 12 weeks. We blend remote online learning with mentoring and coaching. So we pair up our candidates with seasoned professionals that have been with Workforce Insight for years, and they have a lot of experience. In these relationships that we create throughout the academy, our candidates can job shadow and also participate in on-the-job learning through their experience with the academy. The majority of the internship is completed remotely. That's true. We have one portion of the academy where we like to bring everyone together for a workshop. But basically, it's just a blend of all of this knowledge. We start with core product knowledge, and then throughout the academy, we just build and build and build on that product knowledge.
Awesome. So, Brandon Van Whaleren, I apologize, I think I got it wrong, but he was asking in the live chat right now, what level of computer expertise or background does somebody need to bring with them to really be eligible to participate in one of these programs?
So that's a fantastic question. We do hear that question quite a bit. I wouldn't say that you have to be super technical, and Kyle can correct me if he feels differently, but I don't think you have to be super technical in order to be a successful solution consultant, which is the role of this position. Detail oriented, of course, but I wouldn't say you have to be technical. I think just in a normal workplace and the amount of training and interaction you have with the software on a daily basis and other applications is prepares you pretty well to successfully achieve that solution consultant status here.
Nice. Awesome. Well, and I'm so glad that we were able to share that. But, we talked about it's a remote internship, and I mentioned, a little bit ago, 2 months ago, when you said remote, let's face it. I mean, we can all be honest. 2 months ago, when I said work from home or remote work, most of the workforce assumed that meant you were sitting around in your robe, sort of sleeping in and not really working. I think it's interesting over the last couple months how much different understanding much of the American workforce has come to of what remote work can look like and how challenging and hard that can be. But, to give an idea, if somebody's participating in the academy and they're doing it remote, how many hours a day do you figure they're going to be participating in really actively engaged process?
Well, there's different phases throughout the academy that have different components to them. For example, the first phase of the academy is all online remote learning. So everyone can consume that training at a different pace. But once we start advancing to the different phases throughout the academy, and we're pairing people up with a mentor and an academy coach, and we're having them job shadow, I think that they can expect, up to 40 hours a week, probably.
Okay, so definitely that full-time engagement employment. You're not going to go sit on the beach and suntan while you're doing this one. You've got real work to be doing. So, you mentioned none of us get suntan on the beach right now anyways, but you mentioned the consultant role a little earlier, but maybe that's, a good question. So participate in the academy and make it through the 12 weeks. And, what types of job roles are on the back side of this? Because that matters, right? We all want to know what kind of jobs we're leading to. So what kind of job roles and responsibilities does that lead to?
That's a great question too, Chris. So the Academy is really designed to produce or to educate solution consultants for Workforce Insight. And that's the primary focus of all the training within the Academy. However, we have had a few candidates that had strong project management backgrounds from the military, and we have successfully kind of engaged them as a project manager at Workforce Insight too, through the same Academy program. The nice thing about Workforce Insight too is we really try to grow organically. So once we have employees within Workforce Insight, the opportunity to grow or to move to a different role within the organization is huge.
Awesome. I love the exciting roles. I mean, and diversity of roles too. And that's a great thing in there. So you mentioned that the aim is to work toward those roles with Workforce Insight. Do any of your graduates end up working with other companies, partner companies, or what types of companies would they expect to work with following the training?
Yeah, so they're all full-time employees for Workforce Insight. We do partner with Kronos. We're Kronos' largest business partner. So sometimes they may give us projects of their own to go ahead and deliver on, but we're all Workforce Insight employees. And the types of companies we work with are really broad. We have healthcare, retail, manufacturing, public sector, education, pretty much any industry you can think of. We have worked with them. And some of the manufacturing ones are really fun because you get to tour the manufacturing floor when you go on site.
Nice. Awesome. And one of the things I think we mentioned earlier, this program was not set up just specifically for military and the DoD skill bridge. You do have non-military participating in this program. So how does that integration work? Do our service members in the DoD skill bridge program, are they working side by side with their non-military cohort partners, or is it different? How does that work?
So the academy does have non-military participants as well, and they're usually working full time already for their current job, but they're looking to make a career change. So what their academy experience is a little bit longer because they have to participate in the training, remote online training, at a different pace outside of their normal working hours for their current job. So that portion of the academy, which is the first phase of the academy, is almost independent as far as the military candidates versus the non-military candidates. But once phase one is complete, then we all really kind of come together for those consulting and configuration workshop. And then I really believe that the relationships that are built during that typically on-site session, those relationships last inside Workforce Insight, down the road as we all become solution consultants, but also probably beyond that as well.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate it. That's a great amount of information. Kyle, I want to bring you in on the conversation here, if you don't mind. And I want to hear a little bit more about your path toward being with Workforce Insight and sort of, helping to lay the road for those who might come behind you. So I guess my first question is, how did you find out about DoD Skill Bridge as a program, even before you found out about Workforce Insight? How did you find out about that within your time in service?
Well, I, of course, reached out to career counselors to get the initial set of information. But really, as you dive deep into the Skill Bridge program, there's a lot more opportunities than just the typical SkillBridge website. For example, at HireMilitary, you guys provide all kinds of internships, and it was something I had no idea about. So, it's really defeating when you start getting into it because you think you only have so many opportunities within your, base area. But once you start really peeling back the layers of the SkillBridge program, there's a ton of amazing opportunities for people.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you did take that.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I did. I'm really happy I took the Workforce Insight internship, and it just kind of developed naturally into something that I'm really happy to be in. So I think there's amazing opportunities, but people really need to use LinkedIn as a platform and reach out to people who do this for a living, because there's just tons and tons of opportunities.
So, you brought up a great point there. And I think you mentioned earlier that you saw one of Sarah's posts about DoD Skill Bridge and Workforce Insight, and that's sort of what really brought you in. But you just said something to me that's key, which is being on LinkedIn and active, engaged in that professional platform that can, find those opportunities for you. Now, we're broadcasting this on Facebook streaming as well, Facebook live session, as well as to YouTube. But, maybe you could, as a second class petty officer, soon to be civilian first class, good item share. Oftentimes our service members think that being on LinkedIn is just for the old people, right? The senior officers and the senior enlisted. But what's your thought on that as far as being active and participating on LinkedIn to find those opportunities when you're preparing to transition?
I mean, it's an absolute game changer. If you just use what information is provided at a command level, you're going to get your run-of-the-mill opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with those. But if you really want to make the most out of your SkillBridge opportunity, you need to find a different way to engage and search for other opportunities. Others, they're all over the country. This was, I'm very happy I got into this one because everything seemed to work out perfectly for me in this one. So
nice. That's spectacular. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you sharing that just for others to come behind. And so once you found out, okay, you find out there's more opportunities. You find your way. You're on LinkedIn. You get this opportunity. Sarah reaches out. Workforce Insight. You know it's the right thing you got to do. How hard was it for you to process and get your approval done at your command? It was, did you hit roadblocks there, or were they ready just to sign and send you on your way? How did that process work for you?
My chain of command was extremely supportive of it. They knew I was actively searching for SkillBridge programs, and the hardest part of selling this one was remote. Most people in the military don't ever work remotely ever, so selling that to my immediate chain of command, like, yes, I'm going to be working from home for basically until I go on terminal leave. That was kind of like a little hard to sell, but I had a decent reputation, so they knew I wasn't going to take advantage of the situation. So
that's great. And it's always that supportive command that understands that transition is an important time to prepare for. It makes such a difference. But, you mentioned something right there about the perceptions of what it can be. And I know, Mindy a minute ago said that, while you're participating, you got really that 40-hour work week. You got a lot of work to do. So let's go ahead and see if we can validate that you're actually doing it now. How hard, tell me what your day is like actually participating in
it. It's really different by each phase. The first phase is a whirlwind of training that you have to complete within, for us, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. But it's a lot of training. It's a lot of just learning the basics of the software platforms, and then as you move deeper into the phases, it's, as Mindy stated, it's more job shadowing, and you're still completing training at the same time. So it really begins to engage you as more of a consultant at that point, because you have to find that balance of still completing your tasks on time and meeting the other requirements, because your day's filled. You have plenty of stuff to keep you busy.
Nice. I love that. And so, you did mention, obviously, the commands and the bases and installations are there to support successful transition as they're able to. But as you mentioned, if you don't reach outside of that box, there's so many more amazing opportunities. Do you really feel like getting to participate in this has changed the trajectory of where your transition in your civilian life after the military is going to be?
Absolutely. I mean, I was excited at first, but I am just humbled and grateful for the opportunity, because this company has provided not only a job but a career change. So, and they're filled with great leadership and great workers, and every person I've interacted with at the company has been, excellent at what they do and true professionals. So it's really awesome, and I'm extremely happy that I made this decision.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So, Mindy, back over toward you. I know we had talked about, and I'm seeing actually a number of questions in the chat stream that are going by, people asking if they, I didn't get a DoD Skill Bridge approval, or I'm out of time, or I just got out. I'm a veteran. I apologize. I didn't catch the name. I think there was even somebody who separated in the 90s. So they were asking, how can I participate? So as we've mentioned a few times, it's not just DoD Skill Bridge. So if there's somebody out there who wants to participate in the Workforce Insight Academy training and opportunity out there, how do they engage with that, and how can they come be part of what you're doing?
Yep. So like we talked about earlier, we do have participants in the Academy who aren't directly transitioning out of the service. And so probably the best way to get engaged with that would be to email me, or to visit our website, workforceinsight.com, and submit an inquiry about the Academy, and that would come to me as well. Don't know necessarily the best way to share my email address. I'm happy to rattle it out, but I don't know if everybody would memorize it.
No. Well, we'll go ahead after the stream is over. We'll go back in and we'll tag your LinkedIn tag into here, so people can connect with you on LinkedIn and be able to reach out to you that way, if that works for you. Okay, so if you're
That would be
interested,
perfect. Thank you.
yeah, if you're interested and you want to connect with Mindy to learn more about the Workforce Insight Academy, whether that's for SkillBridge or not, make sure to go back and look for her tag on there, connect with her. If you're interested in a DoD SkillBridge opportunity with Workforce Insight, make sure you definitely register and follow with HireMilitary. Sarah Thompson, who Kyle mentioned his great opportunity with. Sarah manages the profile and the opportunities with HireMilitary, and so reach out to her. We'll make sure we tag her in here as well, and we'll be there to answer those opportunities. And Jill Quash had just asked, and just to emphasize, is it available for military spouses as well? Now, obviously, DoD SkillBridge is unfortunately not a program available for military spouses because it is a pre-transitional separation program for military, but I would assume it certainly is available to participate in the Workforce Insight Academy, regardless if you're a military spouse, a stay-at-home spouse, or a senior executive who's been a CEO for 40 years and is ready to do something new and different. It's really open for everyone out there. So I did,
It's true.
yeah. So, and just I apologize. I was reading another one, which just great questions, because we do have just another minute left here, and I want to try and respond to those so that other people can hear. Kimberly Rivera had just asked, is it possible to participate in a part-time internship? And Kimberly, unfortunately, you mentioned your unit struggles with the staffing levels, and the DoD SkillBridge program in itself is set up to be a full-time program by the regulation. There's not a portion of it that allows for participation in a part-time DoD SkillBridge. But if Kimberly or somebody else was to participate in the academy, non-DoD SkillBridge, it sounds, Mindy, like they'd be able to do that at sort of their own pace while juggling work-life balance as well.
Yep, there are still milestones or phases within the academy for our civilians, but it's just longer periods of time to complete the tasks with the understanding that they're carrying a full-time job.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I know there's a good number of questions that have been coming across, and I want to thank. I know Matt Quick has been out there, and Sarah Roberts and Mike Quinn have all been on the stream, really helping to answer some of those questions in the chat box. And I appreciate you guys. We'll go back and try and wrap behind to answer any other questions, whether you ask them now or if you see this stream later on when we're not live and you want to send a question, feel free to post it in here or connect directly with Mindy or Kyle. And, I love, Kyle, we're going to make sure we've got you tagged in there as well, because I'd love to make sure that service members who want some baseline, what's it really like to participate, I want to make sure that they've got you to reach out to if you don't mind as well. So we'll get you in there. And I want to thank both of you for your time today. Mindy, thank you so much for what you and the Workforce Insight team are doing over there. Kyle, thank you for your service, and thank you for spending your time here with us today. And we look forward to following and seeing you in success. And, I really appreciate it. And I am so glad that you both were here, and I look forward to talking again soon. And before I go, one last one. Next Workforce Insight Academy is getting ready to set up with Sarah Thompson. I think she's going to start accepting applications next week. Is that correct, Mindy?
Yep, it's a couple weeks out, I think, but yeah, Sarah's definitely on the ball with that for sure. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so if you've been watching this and you want to participate in that next Workforce Insight Academy, you need to be reaching out to Sarah, start getting some information so she can get you all set. All right, well, thank you both. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing, and I look forward to talking to you soon. And we're going to go ahead and sign off for now, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.